without spending like Amazon, meeting the customers' expectations that matter. Customers have a wider variety of stores to shop online than ever before. We all know that. But continue to shop for comparable items on Amazon. Join us for a panel discussion with Root, High Conversion, ShipBob, and Equilibrium Nutrition as we discuss how to beat Amazon at their own game. So you can have your cake and eat it too. I like that. Anybody have cake for lunch? Hopefully you got a little sweet. Control your own store, branding, and shopper profile data without asking customers to sacrifice convenience and confidence. Without further ado, I want to introduce Adam Gardner, Head of Strategic Partnerships at Root, Ben from High Conversion, and George Wojciechowski. What does that say?
I wouldn't even try it.
Put me on.
Wojciechowski.
I love that. It's my new favorite name. I appreciate you doing that for me. You helped me out, brother. I really appreciate that. From ShipBob. And what do you do at ShipBob?
I'm co-founder and VP of partnerships.
Cheese.
I don't know about that.
Big cheese. I appreciate it. Thanks for spending time with us today. And then we have Melinda from Equilibrium Nutrition.
Hello.
Melinda, how are you?
I'm good. How are y'all doing?
Good. What do you do there, Melinda? Are you big cheese too?
And I wouldn't say big cheese. I'm vice president of finance, but as with a growing scaling company, I wear many hats. So absolutely. I work with an extraordinary team, and we're all big cheeses there.
Everybody wants to be friends with you. I know that. You run finance. The people, when they come down the hallway virtually, do they like kind of go right or left as you're coming?
No, every other Friday, I'm everybody's best friend.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us. With that, I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Have a great session. And you'll see time goes by really fast. We're looking forward to everything that you have to share. So thanks.
Yeah, thanks very much. So I guess sound check, everybody can hear me, right? I haven't made the common mistake of leaving myself on mute. Welcome everybody. My name is Adam Gardner. I'm over strategic partnerships here at Route, and brought a few guests. So, beyond just the cursory introductions, I'd like to give everybody on the panel here an opportunity to introduce themselves. Specifically, your point of view on this and how your roles kind of play into that. So I'll start. Just kind of lay a template of that. But like I said, I'm over strategic partnerships here at Route. I was one of the first 75 employees here at the company and have really been building out the strategic partnerships team. But primarily what Route is focused on is the post-purchase customer experience, and a little bit of what we'll share on today and the insight that I can give to this panel is what Route sees, is that what happens after a customer actually successfully makes a purchase. And that window until they actually receive the thing that they bought successfully in their hands, not just on their doorstep, because we know there's jerks out there stealing it before they get it, but making sure it actually gets in their hands is actually the most fragile and important indicator of whether or not a customer is going to come back to you and buy again. And so that's a bit of the insight that we wanted to give. And I'll just go linearly down the line here. George, would you introduce yourself and a little bit about ShipBob?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Adam. I'm George Wojciechowski, co-founder and VP of partnerships over at ShipBob. ShipBob is a e-commerce 3PL focused on providing the modern e-commerce merchants with the optimal solutions for shipping and logistics part of their business. We've got a technology that integrates with over 32 different platforms and marketplaces, and we have 11 fulfillment centers around North America and one in Europe that allow our customers to get their products into their customers' hands very quickly and at a price that's scalable.
Thanks, George. Melinda, will you introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks guys. My name is Melinda Musco and I'm Vice President of Finance at Equilibrium Nutrition. Equilibrium Nutrition was established in 2015 by a naturopathic doctor He has a very interesting background. He's very entrepreneurial, and I've been with Equilibrium about 1.5 years now, and we're scaling and growing rapidly. So we are building ourselves to be the first online health and wellness and functional medicine company.
Love it. Thank you. Ben, last but not least.
Hey, I'm Ben from High Conversion. We're an e-commerce intelligence platform. We have software that allows merchants to real-time personalization and optimization. We're based in Boca Raton, Florida. I'm British, as you can probably tell from the accent. And yeah, very happy to be here.
Thanks. So I know a lot of you have rushed over here because we had a plug in the Slack channel about a promotion that we're running. I will actually ask Angel to go ahead and drop that into the chat here for anybody who's attended. But click on the link here, drop in your information. You can pick one of 3 items that we've got from cotopaxi.com. Courtesy of Route, we will purchase that item and ship it to your doorstep, so you can actually experience Route firsthand. Our solution set offers visual tracking for all of your orders, regardless of where you bought it from and regardless of the carrier that's bringing it to you. So especially before the holidays here, you can have one place to automatically track all your stuff without even opening your email. Just connect it to your email and we'll pick up those tracking numbers as they come in, so you can get push notifications about where your stuff is. But try it out with this Cotopaxi gift, track it all the way to your doorstep. And the other side of Route is that if anything goes wrong with that order, if it's lost, damaged, or stolen, and you've added Route protection to it, you can tap your phone 3 times and we'll buy you a new one within 24 hours to send to you. So
That's amazing.
Check. Yeah. So we figured we could tell you about it, but just go ahead and try it. That is limited to the first 100 people that fill out that form here in the next little bit. So hurry and do that, but try not to be too distracted as we dive into a bit of the discussion here. But I wanted to make sure that I plugged that and didn't leave you with a bait and switch to dangle a promo in front of you and then totally forget to drop the link in the discussion. So if you hadn't kind of figured it out, we've got some different point of views that can actually talk about this topic here of Amazon being this huge force in e-commerce, and we're really not here to talk about them being a bad guy or being the enemy, at least not in most cases. I'm sure there's definitely some ups and downs that we'll share, but really looking to them as a way that we can learn and looking at the way they interact with customers and why it's so appealing for customers to go there, and how, like we said in the brief, how you can have your cake and eat it too. You can control your own store, you can have a Shopify store, you can fulfill however you want and still meet those expectations that Amazon continues to raise the bar on for customers. But you've got, a point of view from Route focused on customer experience. You've got logistics from George. You got finance and operations from Melinda, and you've got data and the actual in-moment shopping experience from Ben. So as you have questions, as you want to raise those in the chat here on the group or over Slack, keep that in mind. Shoot us individual questions that you would like to hear us comment on throughout this, and we're happy to, as best we can, monitor that chat and take those live. I'd actually like to maybe throw it over to Ben first, if you don't mind, kind of setting the context a little bit here for how Amazon, really came to be such a big force and why we actually care. Why are we trying to keep up with that?
Yeah, sure. Amazon is really a force of nature. It's such a big part of everybody's lives. But in the context of what we're talking about today, I think we need to understand, how they behave as an organization, how they enable merchants to take advantage of that. And also on the flip side, what does that mean for merchants who are kind of trying to compete with them as well? So I think, first of all, just from my point of view, I don't really consider Amazon as a retailer anymore. I think they're kind of a tech company, and probably more than that, actually. So they really figured out, what it took to be extremely successful and to scale in many different areas. So I think, they're an innovation and technology company, first and foremost. They're often painted with being a glamorized bookstore, but that's, you know, that was many, many years ago. So just, I wanted to kind of set that as a kind of almost a precedent. They're operating on a different level to everyone else, and it's kind of created a new game. And really part of that is this sort of philosophy of, you know, experimentation and optimization that they have as a culture. An example that we heard as a team, talking to somebody who actually works at Amazon, you know, they have half a dozen people focused on that button that you click to check out. So they take this extremely seriously, with over, you know, $600 million running through a single button every day. You can understand why they kind of committed to that and improving it literally every moment. So kind of how they do business, you know, how they think about not just being a retailer, but also just innovation and adopting new ways of dealing with the customer. In the context of selling things online, we're kind of calling this thing e-commerce intelligence. They've kind of invented this new way of selling and allowing people to buy online, whereas typically, you know, the old-fashioned way with e-commerce, even though it's still pretty new, was to set up your store. You could collect money, you could kind of list your products, and that was kind of good enough. You kind of set it and forget it. But really, Amazon has just completely taken that to another level. It's now all about, you know, programmatically figuring out a way of kind of predicting how visitors actually want to buy things. You know, personalization, optimization, using things like machine learning. You know, that's kind of the tip of the iceberg. But they've really created this new game for merchants, and I think it's a kind of just something that we need to kind of keep reminding ourselves of. Even if we sell on Amazon or we're trying to sort of compete with Amazon, it's something we need to kind of respect.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. Is we look at Amazon with everything that they do. I mean, like you said, having half a dozen people dedicated just to that checkout button, right? And everything that they do, it seems like the best option in e-commerce might be, I guess I just need to go sell on Amazon and get a piece of all of the resources that they've really put together. And Melinda, maybe you can comment on this, but what's Equilibrium's nutrition strategy with Amazon? How do you balance what you control and sell directly versus where you take advantage of what Amazon has put together and really made plug and play?
Sure. So, you know, we maintain a multi-channel strategy, and the foundation of that approach, of course, is our own website. And that enables us to establish and engage with our customers directly, ongoing, being able to develop long and really strong relationships. And that really is our highest priority. But with that said, you know, we recognize the benefits of expanding beyond our base and reaching out to the customers where they may be. So there's a number of elements in that strategy that would include affiliate marketing and advertising with social media. But, you know, Amazon, obviously, being the world's largest e-commerce platforms with millions of customers coming through there every day. For us, our goal was to leverage their audience to attract new customers and expand our brand awareness.
I'm curious from your view in the company, and it's fine if this is a little bit outside of your umbrella, but do you have many of the conversations about the showrooming that goes on? Are they shopping the products on your site and then preferring to complete the purchase over on Amazon or somewhere where they're more familiar with that checkout process?
Yeah, I mean, we do see that. I think for some of our customers, it is the ability to get the product in 1 or 2 days. But we actually haven't seen a lot of bleed off from our main site. And so that excites us because we do see a lot of new people that are finding out about Equilibrium Nutrition.
Yeah. And that's actually probably a good spot for George to comment on. And we'll touch on this more in a moment, specifically with how you're working with ShipBob on that. But George, from your point of view, just looking at logistics, you know, how big of a deal is that Amazon can do this 2-day and 1 day, and even in some markets, same-day delivery? And, you know, how do brands even have the confidence to try to offer anything else other than that outside of Amazon?
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, that's why we're where we pick up the mantle and take on that challenge. As Ben mentioned, Amazon's literally created the game, and you know, they want all roads to lead back to Amazon, all the data to lead back to Amazon. But for merchants that want to build, you know, healthy brands with a healthy following and an audience, you have to replicate what Amazon's doing, because customer expectations, as they are oftentimes set by what Amazon has done and what Amazon is doing. 2 days, same day, next day shipping, you know, tracking numbers, texted to your phone. This is a lot of these started with Amazon, and it trickles down throughout the e-commerce environment. And it's up to companies like ShipBob and a lot of our partners and us here on the panel to kind of replicate that experience for merchants that are buying not on Amazon, but have those Amazon-like expectations for wherever they're buying from.
Yeah, and that's exactly Rout's view on it, is that you look at so much of what exists in e-commerce, and it's almost like the Kevin Bacon of the internet, right? It all traces back to Amazon one way or another, right? I don't know if that reference is totally out of touch these days, but yeah,
You're showing your age.
yeah, yeah. It's not that exciting of an age, but it all points back to Amazon somewhere, right? They figured something out. They did the research. They had the resources and enough transactions and data to be able to collect the data, analyze it, and then turn it into a product or a solution, right? That now the rest of us have to keep in step. And George, you mentioned it started with them just making things convenient to buy online and expanding that inventory beyond books and creating a catalog of everything. To then we were excited that something showed up in 4 days instead of the 5 to 7 days that we thought we paid for, right?
Yeah.
To then 2 days being an option, to then 2 days being the standard, and anything less than that frustrates us. To then 2 day shipping being free and included, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, like Ben mentioned earlier when he was answering the question, one of the amazing things that Amazon does really well is they're always trying new things. I was having a conversation with a partner a couple of days back who is a major t-shirt printer. They work with companies like Live Nation. So they're basically printing t-shirts for every, you know, big major band in the United States. And they were worried that Amazon was purchasing silkscreen presses, and we're investing $400 million to do basically on-demand printing of t-shirts. And they were like, now they're even getting into our business. And for Amazon, that $400 million may be, you know, a decent investment, but it's certainly not going to like endanger the enterprise from failing if they fail. But they're constantly making these bets and seeing what sticks. And if it sticks and they can come up with a profitable model, they're going to, you know, they're going to go hard into that market segment.
Yeah. So it kind of leaves us with a little bit of a bleak outlook, right? It's like you can create a successful print on demand company, but then here comes big bad Amazon to step in the way. And that's a bit of a, you know, yeah, kind of a scary, unfortunate example. But ultimately, I think what we really want to communicate here to everybody listening is that we can learn from Amazon. We can benefit from the investment that they made. We can be those fast followers, right? Not because we're trying to copycat them, not because we want to be Amazon, but because they are uncovering human behaviors. This is not something that Amazon has a monopoly on. And that if we're not finding ways to keep up with that, if we're still offering 5 to 7 day shipping and no other options, yeah, customers are going to go find comparable products on Amazon instead of shopping with you, or they're going to spend more through your Amazon channel buying your products there. And you're going to have a whole lot of costs that are just not paying you back if you're trying to have a direct channel at the same time, and you can't keep up with that expectation. That's absolutely what. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just going to add to that, Adam, that they're going to remember their buying experience. They're going to remember buying a product on Thursday of, you know, this week and scratching their head on Wednesday being like, hey, where is that coat or hat that I bought? And next time they, you know, are in the market for a similar product, they're going to be like 5 to 7 days shipping. I didn't want to wait for that. I was hoping to get that product by the weekend or by Sunday or the beginning of next week. So
yeah, I experienced it myself this week. I actually bought it's baseball postseason. I'm a lifelong Dodgers fan, so I guess that's appropriate for e-commerce week LA. But I had actually bought the same masks that they wear in the dugout, right? And I bought it from some Shopify store that sold official merchandise, and it took 8 days to get here.
Yeah.
Right? Like I will literally, I got a discount to shop there for the first time, but I realized like I will literally pay more to just go get it from the giant retailers
Yep.
that do the sports stuff all the time, because they could get it to me that much faster. And the frustration of just checking that link and waiting for it and everything, it's just like, no, I'm not going to go get it from that retailer again. It wasn't worth, you know, the 20% savings or whatever that I got on it.
Exactly.
And those are impactful. That's exactly why Route exists, is because Amazon figured out that customers don't want to talk with a happy representative to resolve their issues. They want to resolve it themselves. They want self-service, right? And so now if you need to return something with Amazon, if you need to replace it, if it's stolen, you literally don't even have to talk to a human being. You just pick up the app, you tap like 3 times, and they say, great, do you want the money deposited back into your Amazon account, or do you want it back on the original payment method? It's like that. And so Route set out to literally replicate that, to say, hey, this is what customers expect. And if we can't make it possible for every brand that opens their doors to be able to meet that expectation, they're going to fail. And so I think this is probably a good segue into kind of the next section of what we want to talk about. Is now that we know Amazon's out there, they've got this data, we're seeing what they're doing. Are we left without options and we just have to try to reinvent the wheel with each of our businesses, or what exists out there that we can actually do about it? And I like to kick this off with actually Melinda. You and George can probably collaborate on this response, but Equilibrium, you guys partner with ShipBob specifically for logistics. So talk to me about that and how that gets you a lot closer to parity with what your customers expect when they shop on Amazon.
You know, the key for any retailer is to have inventory available so that when the customer places an order, you know, they receive it in agreed upon time, and they receive it in good quality condition and fulfilling the post-transactional experience. And so in your shipping partner, you need dependability, reliability, and flexibility. And we needed a partner that will do what they say, and they do it every single day without fail. And so, you know, we're in the retail world, and in that retail world, business is driven by customers, and, you know, you have to keep them happy. Equilibrium Nutrition, we have to be dependable, we have to be reliable, and when necessary, flexible to meet the needs of our customers. And so it was important for us to find a shipping partner that could match our expectations for our customers, and that wanted to maintain the same excellence of service that we provided to our customers.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, Adam.
No, I was just going to pass it over to you with something vague anyway, so go ahead.
Equilibrium's been an amazing brand to work with, and it's not every day that you have a brand with the type of velocity that they've had in the year or so that we've been working together. And it presented a challenge, because you have a business with great velocity and demanding customers, especially for their type of product, which is in the nutraceutical and health space. People want it. They want to try it out as soon as they buy it. They can't wait for it to arrive. They want to start, you know, they saw something in that product that they wanted, you know, to see in themselves or to experience themselves. So the challenge was how do we keep these clients happy? And the worst thing that we can do as a 3PL is fail on those. You know, if we fail, if we don't do our job, the brand looks bad, and that's the worst thing that we could do. So ShipBob's really taken the challenge very seriously, and we've worked with Equilibrium to distribute their inventory among I think it's 3 or 2 fulfillment centers around the United States right now, so that you know, we looked at the last 3-6 months of order data. We were able to decipher, okay, how does the order makeup look to shipments within the United States, and then move inventory to locations that we knew would address where their clients are buying from. And so thus a lot of their orders, I would say majority of their orders, are able to, you know, once the customer orders from the Equilibrium website, it arrives at their doorstep within 2 to 3 days. And for Equilibrium, that's great too, because they're not sending it air, which would have been the only other option. You could have your fulfillment center in one part of the country and hit the other part of the country if you sent it air, but we strive to send it ground. And if you can hit the customer in 1 to 2 days with ground shipping, the economics work out really beautifully, because you're not paying, what may cost $26 to send via air would cost $11 to send via ground. So it's a lot more scalable. So you're hitting on the customer's expectations, and as a business, you're able to do it in a way that's very scalable, and it's a huge competitive advantage over your competitors who may be doing it the old-fashioned way, shipping from one location and hitting all the points in the United States or all over the world. And they may have to pay air when like 2-day orders come in, or some other designation like that. So yeah, it's a win-win situation. It's a great relationship in that regard.
And
Absolutely.
I think that's a fantastic highlight of exactly what we're talking about here. Is the customer doesn't care if it was ground, if it was air, if it went through 50 checkpoints, or if it went through one. They just care that it's there in 2 days or 3 days, right? And so this is a perfect example where you can deliver the same value of Amazon. Hey, it's here in just a few days from when you ordered it. But you didn't have to spend to build your own trucks and create your own logistics arm of the business to try to accomplish that. You can learn from what Amazon's done, partner with solutions that make that possible, and offer that same value to the customers, so that they no longer have to have the split. Well, if I go buy it on Amazon, I can get it a lot faster.
Yeah, it definitely, like, we take great pride in leveling the playing field for a lot of these merchants. All the big retailers, whether you're Amazon or Nordstrom or Dick's Sporting Goods, the way that those products arrive at your door super quick is that they've got distribution centers all over the country, and mid-sized e-commerce merchants just would not be able to build that out on their own. So teaming up with them to level the playing field is something that we're very proud of.
That's awesome. Melinda, I think I cut you off. Was there another comment you wanted to make?
No, just, I mean, it's like, kind of jokingly, you came into our life at just the right time. People have those type of relationships, right? And that's what it was with George and ShipBob. And this year with COVID, it's been a complete challenge for everybody, right? And kudos to ShipBob. We didn't have any interruption whatsoever with the challenges that they face. So their team makes themselves available, and they're dependable, and they've done an extraordinary job for us this year.
Well,
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Melinda. It was an extraordinary time. And it's a topic for another discussion, but getting the fulfillment centers and being able to keep obligations to ship products out the door it was a big task, but it's worked out.
That's great. Well, I want to shift gears a little bit over to Ben. We've talked about logistics and fulfillment, and I'd certainly like to contribute a little bit just talking about that customer experience level playing field. But Ben, let's talk a little bit about just the shopping experience itself, right? We know that if I set up my own Shopify store and I design it well, I can control my brand. I can actually see, customer data. There's a lot of advantages about who my shoppers are, where they're coming from, what they're looking at, what they're spending their time doing, what converts and what doesn't, that I don't have if I sell on Amazon, right? But at the same time, Ben, you've got some really interesting information about how Amazon uses those analytics for themselves to be able to push your product. So talk a little bit about that experience and how that's even possible for a brand to replicate independently.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, fascinating story with ShipBob and Equilibrium there. I think that really represents, there's a clear innovation gap that a lot of merchants can't adopt technology quick enough. But I think this is a case study for, the opposite of that, which is, recognizing there's a problem and, ShipBob providing a solution, and, props to the Equilibrium team for kind of, having the foresight to kind of think like that. Fascinating. So I think, when it comes to the actual, the buying experience, I guess you could say, despite all the innovation, despite all the scale and data, I think, and again, another thing we need to remind ourselves is Amazon, whilst they've created this new game, they've also kind of homogenized it. It's just this kind of, it's not necessarily an exciting thing anymore to, you know, restock your cupboard with cleaning things. Not necessarily that was a fun thing to do in the past anyway, but I think they've really taken out the kind of the experience of buying, and they've kind of commoditized it or industrialized it to such an extent that it is now simply a transaction. So I think the big advantage for brands that are able to have their own shopping experiences on Shopify or any other big platforms, they really own that experience. And you know, it's about brand, it's about you know, how they curate their products, and you know, even things like copywriting and just the control that they have about how visitors engage with them. So you know, Amazon has kind of created that new game, but I think you know, the advantage or the strategic advantage that the community of merchants have against Amazon is they know their business better than anyone. And I think if they can adopt that mentality of innovation and experimentation, they can actually move ahead. So you know, I think Amazon has pushed it forward, but it's really opened up such a big opportunity for merchants. And it's just a case of understanding, okay, Amazon is deploying these you know, technological innovations, and you know, typically it's extremely difficult to replicate that on your own site. However, we've actually started to work on integrating Amazon technology on behalf of merchants. So we've actually taken things that Amazon has now made available, publicly available through AWS, which is their sort of their cloud platform. So I have a number of different APIs and all sorts of things like that, very technical stuff that you can actually take as a developer and integrate into a product. So one of the things they have is their personalization algorithms, the technology that actually powers their own personalization on Amazon.com. You can actually take that and you know, create a version of it and run that on your own store nowadays, and your data is what's running through that engine. Amazon doesn't see any of that stuff. You own it, but you're simply kind of running it through the same pipes that they would use. So you know, Amazon is creating this extremely competitive environment. However, paradoxically, they're also democratizing it by releasing the very technology that they've used themselves. So that's something that we're actually working on. You know, I don't want to sort of plug it too much, but a Shopify store, you know, very soon we'll be able to, you know, personalize exactly like Amazon.com. You know, something like 35% of Amazon's revenue comes from personalized content, and they've basically figured out that the in session, like a new visitor that comes to their site, there's certain behaviors, certain things that they do. They're able to sort of take that and increase the probability of predicting that, you know, what would they want to see next, what they want to do next. So again, any Shopify brand can now take that and run that on their own store, and you know, I think that's a pretty powerful thing. So fair play to Amazon. They're recognizing that whilst they're creating the competition, they're also enabling, they're kind of arming the rebels, so to speak, to steal Shopify's shtick.
It's wild to think, you know, it's like I get overwhelmed just thinking about all of the analytics that would go into even figuring out what is a behavioral touch point that I should pay attention to if I were trying to analyze, you know, customers. And I'm not a data scientist, so, you know, that's probably a big part of it. But just to think about as a brand owner, if I were to try to go do that and try to understand my merchants, I mean, I imagine there's solutions where I could go try to figure that out at a basic level, where I could pay huge sums to consultants to identify that for me and hope that they're right. But man, what an advantage to take the single largest e-commerce force, use all the information that they invested in and they built, and be able to independently operate that on my own brand. I mean, just between that and then being able to deliver it within 2-3 days, like we're 90% of the way there. People can shop with us and not have to worry about you know, going on Amazon anymore, at least not for superior experience. And when it comes to experience, you know, that's again, that's really where Route comes in. And at least, you know, again, not to plug our own solutions here too hard, but that's literally where Route stands, is to democratize this experience that Amazon has created, saying, hey, we care about you so much as a customer, we'll just go ahead and replace your order if anything goes wrong with it. We're not going to make you sweat it. I'm not even going to make you you know, act like a Karen and demand to speak with the manager to try to get a replacement, right? We're just going to streamline this for you. We'll make it so easy. There's no sob stories. There's no back and forth. There's no long hold times. It's just, oh man, that sucks. Here, boom, boom, boom. But we all know Amazon would like literally burn a stack of cash to keep their customers warm if they had to, right? And they have the resources to do that. We don't have the resources to do that if we're a new brand, or even if we're a brand with velocity trying to grow. And so, yeah, Route, high conversion, ShipBob, we all come into this proudly empowering the little guy, proudly empowering the rest of e-commerce, and just saying, hey, there's some key things that they have figured out. We've productized it and we've made it available so that, you know, just like we're talking about here, you can act like Amazon without spending like Amazon.
Yep.
So your customers don't have to come window shop on your website or on your app and then go find a comparable product manufactured out of China on website so that they can get it in 2 days, right? Or because they heard that Mrs. Jones down the street just had her packages stolen twice this week, and they're worried that any retailer they shop with next is going to have a problem at their doorstep. It doesn't matter what that concern is, whether it's a lack of trust in your brand because they've never shopped with you before, if it's a lack of trust in the existing shipping and delivery environment where maybe you've got a 3PL, but FedEx, UPS, USPS, all these guys are way behind on orders ever since COVID and lockdown, and volume went way up. I don't care what the concern is. If they don't feel like you're going to get the package to them at the end of the day, or you're not going to get it to them quickly, they're going to go buy it from Amazon because they know they'll get it to them quickly in the first place. And if there's a problem before it gets to their hands, it's like tap, tap, tap on their phone and they take care of it. And so I love the group that we've put together for this discussion, because we've got the in-shopping experience to be able to match the experience of recommending solutions so you can grow your cart size, you can grow that average order value, you can grow those repurchases by dynamically recommending to your clients what they might be interested in. We can get that product to them in a couple of days to match the experience. And then they've got the confidence that if the partners that you have trusted to get that package to them has any bumps along the way, it's fine. They're taken care of, and you actually have some influence and some say in how smoothly that issue gets resolved without even making your client pick up the phone and call customer support. And so ultimately, yeah, there's a lot of confidence that brands can have to have your cake and eat it too. You can have your own store. You can set that up with confidence. You can own a brand. There was actually a question in the chat, I think, that would be good to bring up right now. Somebody asked, is it better to start with, would you recommend first to build a brand and then go on Amazon? What are the ups and downsides of using Amazon early? And I think solutions like us, we absolutely make a case that somebody could just be, you know, hanging their shingle for the first time and have great confidence that there's solutions out there that would enable them to confidently build a brand and not at all be disadvantaged in their ability to have good logistics or have amazing customer experience, even if you've got a very lean team that's just not prepared for order volume or chasing down FedEx about a package that didn't make it. That you don't have to be overwhelmed the way I described to try to figure out customer profiling. There's solutions for that. But what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that the solutions exist. And it's actually more empowering. Like at first sight, the Amazon value proposition would be like, wow, I'm getting everything here. You know, being a merchant in the Amazon marketplace, they'll take care of any returns, everything will be automated. But the solutions to basically replicate the model and be able to hit on the expectations that Amazon and other big retailers are setting are there, and the components are in place. And the cake in that cake and eating it too is that building a business outside of Amazon, like Amazon's got a relevant channel, and I don't want to jump the conversation here, but there are certain advantages that go with having a business that has its own standalone Shopify or Squarespace or BigCommerce store, and being able to retain, one, more super importantly, your customer data, but two, really have communication, have a relationship with the merchants that you're working with. And I think that's something that's Amazon, at least up until this point, is very much underserved. Whereas if you have your own Shopify store and your own relationship with merchants, you have their email address, you can speak to them, you can give them offers. That is super powerful in building a business and a following that's just absolutely excited to tell the world about your product and what you do.
Melinda, you're probably the best authority on this, since you're running an omni-channel strategy over there at Equilibrium. What are your thoughts on that? What would be the advantages of starting with one or the other?
Well, I think the advantages of a direct channel and why they're so important for us is, as George had mentioned, the most significant advantage of a direct channel is your ongoing relationship with your customers, the ability to gauge them and communicate with them and build a community. And building that community is so important to us. It's something that we treasure and value the most of anything that we do. And you just can't get that through Amazon because you can't communicate with your customer. They control that data. And secondarily, a direct sale is your most profitable sale. There are fees that are associated with Amazon. And if you do FBA by Amazon, for us, we had to have a dedicated inventory. So that was an added expense. And then you also have to remember that, it's been interesting. We've been able to use some, when we first started with Amazon, we had some partners that, said, oh, we'll be able to, take your sales from 0 to 1,000 in 5.3 seconds. And so to build that momentum, it takes money in advertising. And so at the end of the day, when you look at your Amazon P&L versus your direct sell P&L, if you're starting off and you don't know what you're doing, you could actually lose money. So, to me, it's always a cost benefit analysis, right? The advantages for Amazon is you get to extend your customer reach, you can build on your brand, and you can drive incremental revenue, because that certainly is significant. But for us, that was not the most important thing. And the disadvantages are your fees and the dedication of the inventory, and there's no direct relationship with your customer. Amazon controls that.
And speaking from the customer experience standpoint, I would absolutely harp on, if you are a new brand and you're trying to establish that, the communication with your customer is going to be fundamental. If you don't know who's buying your product, if you don't know why they're buying it, you're not going to have the information you need to actually do social marketing that's going to be effective. You don't know who to target. You don't know where to spend those marketing dollars to drive more. You just know that you're getting some incremental sales from Amazon and whatever their algorithm is doing to drive more people to your product. And so that customer experience, that voice of customer connection that you can have. And I mean, business is just so human these days. We want to engage with businesses that have a cause associated with it, or have a face to it. We really don't just want to engage with corporate suits or anything like that anymore, at least as a generation. And so I would just think that there's untold value in having a lot more control in defining your brand and how you reach your audience, and would likely be worth utilizing solutions to meet the expectations that shoppers have come to expect from Amazon, the way we described. But keep control of that conversation, keep control of that visibility into who your customers are and why they care about you, and why they would come back. Because otherwise, it kind of feels just like a robot without a soul, right? It's just like, it's running, it's moving, it's going, but right. It doesn't have that heart to it that really customers engage with, and they want to be a part of a community when they engage with your business.
And you want to do right by your customers. And so, in this day and age, when you find out about a new product, what's the first thing people do? They probably go to Amazon and try to read a review and see if there's anything. So if you don't have control over that, if you can't make something right, that's also something that you have to remember, because for long term, it could hurt your brand. Like, I didn't have a good experience. And, if they're still around in a couple of years with their own website and they're growing, I would be like, I didn't have a very good experience with them a couple of years ago. I think I'll pass. So,
yeah. The sense of community that Melinda initially hit on is so important. You know, we work with over 4,000 brands, and we talk to a lot of customers as well. And I've actually seen, to your point, Adam, about like people, you know, not wanting to buy from some suits or some corporation. There's been a trend in the last couple of years where people are just exhausted from a lot of like big marketplace shopping, and they take a lot of pride and they want to be part of a community. And so they delight in shopping with, you know, merchants that have a Shopify or a Squarespace or a BigCommerce business. They love the idea of, you know, giving their money to the inspired entrepreneur with a great idea versus the big marketplace. And I think that's been a growing trend that I've observed personally over the last couple of years.
I think an interesting highlight of that is I had a coworker at a previous customer experience software company, and he was a successful enterprise sales guy, and literally quit his job to go help his wife with her pop-up Instagram business that had gotten so big it justified him leaving his 9-to-5 well-paying enterprise sales job to go grow the business with her. And we asked her, she sold like a pair of baby swaddle blankets and like matching socks and hats that go with it. And to any of us, it looked insanely overpriced as we looked at her Instagram page and as we talked with Jeff. And it's like, dude, how are you selling so many of these and who is buying it, right? Because I live in Utah, everybody's having babies all the time out here, right? So there's a ton of baby showers going on out here. And his wife was actually in the office one day in his last few days, and she just said, you know, it's people that want to show up to that baby shower with a gift that nobody else has, right? Mm-hmm. That they didn't buy from Target, that they couldn't find at Walmart, that they couldn't get at Amazon. The value in giving that gift was the personalization of knowing I found a brand that nobody knows about yet. And look how cool this is. Your baby is going to be the only one that you know that has these awesome blankets and hat. And you just don't have that if you're just selling it through just a big marketplace where I bought the cheapest baby blankets I could find on Amazon that came with Prime 2-day shipping, right? Yeah. It really missed that human touch, and that blew me away. And I realized that right there was the success of her business. And obviously she had a quality product. She ran a slick business, but I feel like that was the heart of it, right? Is she wasn't selling blankets. She was selling unique gifts that gave the gifter the opportunity to give something that nobody else was going to give in that same baby shower. And I think if we can find whatever that heart is of each of our businesses, you'll have a much better opportunity of communicating that and controlling it if you control a lot more of your experience and your business, and you're not relying on a marketplace like Amazon to take care of so much of it for you.
Very well said. Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we also had a comment here. Somebody had asked in the Slack channel our earlier question, what do you recommend? Should we start off there? Everett Jesse commented and said, I just pivoted to ShipBob as of Monday. So far, so good. The service level I received from Aaron and the team is an enormous relief after being beaten and abused by Amazon multi-channel FBA. So if our answers didn't satisfy you, Ellen, on the first question, I guess that wasn't Ellen, it was Alice who asked the first question. You've got firsthand experience there from Everett in the Slack channel. So.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that, Everett. Welcome to ShipBob, and look forward to learning more about your business.
So I want to kind of shift to the last part of this because we only got about 12 minutes left. But does any of this really matter, right? Are we talking about nice to have type solutions? Are we keeping up with the Joneses just for the sake of keeping up with the Joneses as we try to replicate these solutions and create them? And if you don't mind, I'll start off from a customer experience standpoint. I was shocked to learn from the Forrester research and Accenture and everything that we've seen and based our product on when it comes to customer experience. A few numbers that I think would be equally surprising to everybody else. 84% of shoppers will not return to a brand after a bad delivery experience. That's crazy, right? Because it's not the brand's fault. It was the delivery company, it was the jerk that stole it. But in the customer's mind, that delivery stage is inseparably connected from the brand. Here's another one. 74% of customers say delivery is most important in the online shopping experience. Also crazy. If you own a brand, Think about how much money you've spent on ads and product discovery. Think about how much money you spent on the website and optimizing it and trying to replicate what Ben and his team have created and packaged for everybody. And then think about how much money you've spent on shipping and delivery. And I promise it doesn't represent 74% of customers saying that's the part they care about the most, right? And then here's the last one. 94% of customers blame the retailer after delivery goes poorly. So if we are doing everything else right, if we are driving people to our site, we've got amazing products, they're buying them, we've got awesome partners to be able to try to fulfill them quickly, but then that last leg of it, it doesn't get there, customers will not come back to you 4 out of 5 times. Insane, right? So we are not talking about fringe benefits here, right? Ben, you can talk about this, but what did you say it was? 35, 40% of what Amazon sells comes from personalized recommendations?
Yeah, so again, Amazon.com eating their own dog food. This is 20 years of tech innovation. This is like, 35% of Amazon.com. I mean, that's billions and billions of dollars. So this is, a legitimate thing. It's viable. It's more than viable. It's totally proven. And now that it's available to really anyone, it kind of, just kind of stepping back a little bit to this kind of idea of, should I or shouldn't I sell on Amazon? Again, it's like, what's the brand? Like, what sort of company are you trying to build? And I think, if you want to create those experiences that Adam is talking about, this kind of humanity, this heart to the experience, which I think we're probably starting to see now a shift towards that. Certainly in the last few months, you've had more and more people come online, like new shoppers, like, again, brand new to digital e-commerce. They've never bought something online before. And I think that's a really interesting market. We probably don't have time to get into it, but all of those new people, and they may be from all different, walks of life. It could be an older generation, it could be different geographies, what have you, but they're engaging in e-commerce for the very first time. So as a brand, you have an opportunity to stand out, and really own that first relationship with a new generation of shoppers. So taking advantage of what Amazon has put out there, it kind of feels like a no-brainer, because you can, from day one with a brand new shopper, you can own that experience. It's not a case of kind of retrofitting it. You can literally deliver it day one. So I think it just makes complete sense to me that you would take everything Amazon has ever done and try and learn from it. And again, it's contextual to what brand are you trying to create. I mean, if you're selling like copper piping, perhaps it doesn't matter that you sell it on Amazon. That's fine. It's more of a transactional experience. But if you want to own the brand, if you want to create a relationship, then you really need to understand what it takes these days. It's a professional sport.
So I want to throw it back to Belinda, because again, the brand authority, I feel like is the best authority we could have on this. What kind of an impact have you seen on operational excellence, or, I mean, I don't care, whatever information you have at your disposal, as you've actually made these changes or reached a scale where you can implement these type of, and just take distributed inventory. What's the impact been on the business?
So, I mean, there's no way that you're going to build a substantial business in a hyper-competitive market unless you're committed to operational excellence in customer care. And those two things really go hand in hand. And so, the fulfillment partner has as much impact on that basic principle as we do. And if they can't deliver on time and in good condition, and then we haven't met our customers' needs. And so, that results in loss of customers, loss of brand appeal, and the inability to build a substantial business. So, when the fulfillment partner is performing as agreed upon, it drives the customer satisfaction and the customer retention and customer growth. So, operational excellence on both sides of the equation is so important. That's what we've found in our shipping partner, and certainly it's what we strive for. We have an awesome team, customer care team, customer excellence team, and it's really that's the difference in our business, between us and someone else. So Amazon's, how do you replicate that with Amazon? I mean, it's
Have you had difficulty with the inventory that you keep with Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some challenges on moving the inventory. And so, I always like to be master of my own destiny. And, we have been talking with ShipBob about being an FBM merchant. And so, that's something that we're starting to look at. And so, it's frustrating because you can't, with a behemoth like Amazon, you can't really get an answer as to what's going on sometimes. So that can be a frustration at times, definitely, for sure. But the excellence to delivering to your customer and your fulfillment partner, definitely, you have to mimic and mirror each other.
Yeah. Operationally, if you're going to compete with Amazon, you have to hit it on all points operationally. You mentioned, Adam, that 75% of merchants won't come back, or even more than that. I think it was 4 out of 5 won't come back if the delivery experience is terrible. And Amazon knows this. That's why they make it so easy to return a product or to get an instant refund. It's not because it's profitable. It's probably very unprofitable, but they want you to feel good about coming back to Amazon. So that creates a huge responsibility for companies like Route and High Conversion and ShipBob to really level up and hit on the same performance, so that the merchants that are working with you feel confident that they're getting best in service and the best of both worlds. I think that go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, to use a personal example, I compete in weightlifting. And I look at guys that can, squat 800 pounds. And if I went and tried to do that just by looking at them and trying to do it, I'd be crushed, right? And I think it's the same thing. You just talked about how the way Amazon just quickly replaces orders or lets you return them without a question. If I tried as a brand to just go do that, I would probably crush myself.
You would crush yourself. Yep.
And so it's having partners that enable you to do it, right? It's, it's like with Route, like we literally charge merchants nothing to do this. We've created an economic flow with the end customer who chooses to protect their order for a small fee, so that they can feel like you're going above and beyond and taking care of them just like that. But you're not the one bearing the burden of saying, hey, I'm going to be a brand that replaces all my packages, and just start doing it, because you will very quickly crush yourself trying to undertake that. Just the same way, if you tried to build out your own warehouses around the country to distribute your own inventory, you would crush yourself and sink it. So
I do want to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
No, I do want to mention that a way that merchants can help themselves in competing in that regard, merchants especially that have their own D2C revenue channel, that is having a relationship with merchants too. Being able to have that line of communication is huge. If you're angry because the package didn't show up or it got stolen, and you can email your the company's merchant success team or customer success team and get a human on the line, it'll definitely help repair that situation. And so maybe you can't refund every incorrectly delivered or lost order, but you can help yourself by reaffirming and constantly affirming that relationship that you have with the customers. And so it's a two-pronged approach. The partners that you choose have to be operationally on top of their game, and you need to really harness the relationships you build with your customers to, when things go south, that they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. So we've only got about 2.5 minutes left. So wanted to just take some time on some closing thoughts here. But ultimately, what we really hope to communicate is that Amazon is not just this big, bad Death Star that we all need to be afraid of, that's, destroying e-commerce planets. and I can't believe I'm going down a Star Wars rabbit hole here, but they're not just a big bad guy. There's a ton that we can learn from them, but you do not need to be overwhelmed by that and just feel like you are at a disadvantage if you're not selling on Amazon, if you're not selling on Amazon exclusively. You've got amazing examples like what Melinda and the folks at Equilibrium Nutrition are doing in an omni-channel strategy, where neither of those channels is lagging behind the other because they've built this operational excellence through independent channels. They're taking advantage of the exposure and the reach that they can get through Amazon. I can certainly attest to the brands that we work with. We can work with brands who just opened their doors yesterday and have a huge demand for orders, that they can provide an amazing experience and act like a company far beyond their years and act like what customers expect coming from Amazon without worrying about people going and buying a comparable product that they can find on Amazon. I've been amazed with what Ben has shared about the ability to control that shopping experience, that it's not just after the fact, but that you can actually further optimize exactly what shoppers are looking for, present it to them, suggest to them things they didn't even know they wanted, and be able to increase those conversions, increase your cart totals. And so for any of the folks listening that have brands, have confidence. You can have your cake and eat it too. There's some amazing solutions and some amazing partners that can make it possible for you to be independent, control your brand, and have the best of both worlds.